I'm Sara Kooperman. I'm the CEO of SCW Fitness. I've got the wonderful Mindy Mylrea, who is an advisory board member for Oxygen Magazine, an international presenter, author, motivational speaker, video personality, and a CEC provider for, of course, SCW, ACE, and AFAA. Thank you for coming, Mindy.
Thank you.
We also have Dane Robinson, who's a former collegiate football champion, not just a football athlete, he's a football champion, thank you very much, at the University of Buffalo and several years in the AFL. And Dane's focus is to drive a next level boutique studio experience in Atlanta. So Dane joins us from Atlanta. We're thrilled to have him with us. And we've got Giovanni Roselli, who's a former WWE Superstar. Again, not an athlete. We have a champion and a superstar. He has also professionally acted, which he told us about earlier, alongside some of the world's top actors and presented group fitness programs across the country. All right, so who are the top actors, Giovanni, that you've acted with?
I've got to act alongside James Franco, Tina Fey, Mickey Rourke. I would say those are the three that kind of stand out to me when I think about who I've done scenes with.
Oh, that's totally cool. I love Tina Fey. All right, and we've got some wonderful topics for you guys. I know we've got about 5 questions we're going to start with. We're going to jump right in. Usually there's a long introduction. We're done with our introductions. How do you best use your body weight for the most effective workout, Giovanni? We were talking about the different training. You gave me some acronyms and I very idiotically said, what do they mean? Can you share us some information on that?
Yeah, well, I'm also going to steal from my athletic friend, Dane, because I think he nailed it right before we went on. And he said, listen, what do we got to do? We got to push, pull, squat, lunge, rotate. And if you check those boxes off, then you're already ahead of the game. Another thing I want to say is that, especially if you're going to do HIIT training, make sure you got a good warm up. Don't forget the warm up and have a good mobility based warm up, because if you're going to hit it, and if you're really going to hit it, and if that like kind of hit, if you're really going to do HIIT training, then you got to be ready, and your body's got to be ready. So those are the things that I want to start with. And then, the stuff that we were talking about with the acronyms, I like using things like EMOM, which is every minute on the minute, where you're doing a certain amount of reps and a certain amount of exercises. You start at the minute mark, you perform those exercises for for those reps, and then whatever time you have left is your rest time. So if you've done 2 exercises for 10 reps each and it takes you 47 seconds, then you're resting for 13 seconds before you have to do those exercises again. I like using an EMOM. You could obviously use that for body weight type of training. And obviously Tabata is a big word that we all know about. I like using Tabata with the counting of the reps, where you would say on the first round, count how many reps you do and go for it. And then for the next several rounds, or 7 rounds, you got to match the number or beat the number. And obviously as the rounds go on, it gets harder to match the number or to beat the number, which is the point. After you do a Tabata, if you do a real Tabata, you don't want to do 4 minutes and 1 second. You want to stop at about 3 minutes. You want to stop at about 2.5 minutes. And then obviously the last one is the AMRAP, which is as many rounds as possible, where you're taking a specific amount of exercises and you're putting a rep scheme to that. And then you're putting a number onto that, where you say, I'm going to do these 5 exercises for 10 minutes, and I'm going to get in as many rounds as I can. You only take a break when you need it. Let's all keep in mind that a high intensity interval training routine shouldn't be very long. It should be short. That's why it's high intensity and not mid intensity or low intensity. Those are longer sessions.
Now that's interesting. I'm going to remember the Tabata because I'm going to talk to Mindy about that. But I want to go back to what you said about warm-ups because, you know, I, I always do this. I talk about my age and then I like regret it later. But I'm 61 years old and I can't be doing the same thing as a 30-year-old right now. But I want to do HIIT because I'm not dead, okay? And I want to do what's like hot and what's out there. So if somebody just asked a question, you know, how do you, when you're doing your warm up, how long should we warm up? Well, how, you know, I know we want to get the body used to what we're going to do later, but give me some guidance here.
Yeah, great question. For whoever asked that, and I did see a couple of people ask that. So the three biggest mobility buckets you want to check off when you're about to warm up, like you need your joints, you need certain joints to move well to be able to perform well in the exercises, right? Those main mobility joints that we talk about are ankles, our hips, and our upper back thoracic spine. So that's why we use exercises like the world's greatest stretch, which is called the world's greatest stretch because what does it check off? Well, your legs in extension, right? So you're getting good hip extension, which we often don't have enough of. And then you're getting good thoracic rotation, so that checks that box off. You're pushing back on your foot, so you're getting good dorsiflexion in your ankle. So I would just look at what can I do or what am I doing for my ankles, my hips, and my thoracic spine that can prep me and prime me for the rest of the workout. What's in between all those places? My core. So there's your core activation. A core activation drill can be part of, you know, a warm-up routine. You're warming up your core. I always find it interesting how someone would do core at the end of a workout. Like, shouldn't you do core activation in the beginning of the workout to activate your core, so when you do a squat that your core is helping you and your core is turned on to do that? So long story short, again, ankles, hips, thoracic spine, mobilization, some type of core activation could take 5 minutes. Really, that's all you need. If you had longer, I would take longer. I'm a big proponent of a good, nice long warm up. If I had the time, I could or would warm up for 10 to 20 minutes. And if you're only going to do HIIT for 10 to 20 minutes, that's still only asking you to commit to 20 to 40 minutes.
That's great. That really helps. And Dane, I saw you nodding your head and going like this. Please share with us.
Well, just because, you know, just like to Gio's point is like, we talk about so much like engage your core, and yet, you know, sometimes we're so stuck into, sometimes because we're trying to satisfy our audience for that core burner at the end. We just need to put it in the beginning so that it's already fired up, it's already set, ready to go, and it actually benefits you and it helps you through some of the main movements that you're doing throughout your workout, especially, again, that's your epicenter for where everything goes. So what you want for your clients, and then just for just kind of the landscape of whatever your HIIT workout is that you get that going right away. And then if you're talking about the experience for somebody in there, it's also a good way if they're just coming into your HIIT training program for the first time. It's an easy way to get them on your side. You know, like, you know, you do the warm, like, oh man, like we're getting into core already. I love this. I've never heard somebody complain about too much core. Maybe in the moment because their core is on fire, but they never complain about too much core, especially if you can give that to them right away. But we know where we're taking them from a programming standpoint that's going to help them perform better throughout what we're going to ask them to do in the midst of the workout. And just to double down on one thing that Gio said one more time on the joint integrity. When you're going through your warm-up, there, again, it depends on how long your programming is. I would say the minimum is going to be 5 minutes, and that's the absolute minimum, especially if you're talking about, again, a 30 to 45-minute, you know, HIIT training program. But again, it's really kind of thinking about head, shoulders, knees, and toes. You know, that's kind of how Gio kind of put it up into a framework. You're talking about your ankles, your hips, your rotation throughout your thoracic spine. I love doing joint integrity as far as on your shoulders, where you just do a little internal, external rotation. Even if you're just kind of going up and down with your arms, in a scarecrow avenue. So that way you're checking off boxes so that, again, they perform how you want them to perform and they're limiting injury and they feel successful without the workout.
And Mindy, I saw you smiling and laughing, and now I want you sharing.
So in Tabata boot camp that I created, we start out with the warm-up is, it's a 5-minute, but then it goes into a hardest collaboration of lower body, upper body, and core. And I agree wholeheartedly that the core is the integral part of everything. And if you look at functional movement training, everything that we do has to come from a functional training aspect. Like, people are coming into your class from a sagittal plane, sitting, walking, just being sagittal, and then we take them right into maybe like a squat series or something like that, where we should be opening them up in frontal plane and transverse plane and multi-planar aspects during that first. And I totally wholeheartedly agree that not only that 5 minutes of acclimation and core integration and joint mobility, but also then having them play around with seeing that intensity variation, going from harder, hardest, learning the move, adding on and adding on. And then when we get to the HIIT, like for example, the Tabata, we're not just saying, go, and there it is, but they've warmed themselves up. They've readied themselves for that gradual increase of intensity. And then when it comes, they're ready for that because they've gotten there. The one other thing that was brought up before, I think by Giovanni so beautifully, was how we utilize our bodies. And I like to call it shifting, where we are shifting our bodies from one position to another. And how Dane said too, using body weight, we have the most wonderful tool available to us. It's our bodies. And if we can shift our bodies to and fro within a movement, say a squat or a lunge or a plank or whatever, and not stay static, then we can utilize the different load that our body has to offer as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I really liked the way the intensity could grow, because what I get so frightened of when I work out in a HIIT program is I love, I feel the head to toe warm up, but as an older adult, if I can try it one way and then challenge myself a little bit more, and then get up here and go, it ain't working today, and just at least I know where I can go. It's not as though I'm going way up here and then I'm going to decline in my efforts. So I really like that. And thank you guys for sharing the focus on the core. That really does help. So the body weight is a great way to work out, especially now when you're working online. And that leads us to our next question. And Dane, I'm going to talk to you about this. What are some ways to engage a group online that will motivate others to join? Because you're incredibly successful. I think you've got what? You said 50 to 75 clients a week that you're training online.
At the end of the day, when you're talking about doing group training online, it really is about, obviously about presence, but also it's making it scalable. I think it's one of the things that, Mindy talked about, honestly, when you're looking at how do you take a base movement and you kind of like create levels and you kind of engage people at wherever they are in their fitness journey. Those things matter because the way you kind of scale out everything from being able to serve that many people is obviously things that we just talked about. But when you talk about your programming, let's start with there, is that here's your base movement. Here's the push-up that I want you to do. If you're rocking at, if you want to rock at this level, you want to challenge yourself, take it to this level. If you're feeling tired today, or if you have a little compensation going on, I want you to modify to this level. But a push is a push at the end of the day. So you make everyone feel successful in what they're doing and how they're doing it. And at the same time, when we're doing things online, I'm a big proponent of part of what I do now is with a company called Daily Burn, which is, again, on-demand fitness, where we have to kind of really talk through the lens. Sometimes I'll do a Zoom workout. Sometimes I will do an Instagram live workout with Daily Burn, but I have to talk through the lens and kind of remove myself from, yes, demonstrate the exercise, but get in real nice and close with them, you know, kind of talk as if they were there, saying like, I see you, you know, like that, you know, lift the hips up a little bit more in your plank. How did he know I was doing that? We know the workout. We know what are the typical things we see in a small group session. So it's treating it as such. And it's really for us, I'm not, oh man, I don't know how to perform, or kind of coach in front of a camera. You got to disconnect that part of fear in your mind. And especially if you're already doing small group training, you got to put yourself as if you were smack dab in the middle of all 50, 75 people watching your workout and doing it along with you and engaging, especially talking at them, or excuse me, talking with them through the camera, or when there's breaks, saying, hey, you know, drop an emoji in the comments about how you're feeling right now, because there's that interaction that allows your group to grow more and more, especially when you have good base level programming, if you're just doing body weight.
That is really great to know. The one thing that I find interesting is I keep taking this yoga class online with this instructor that I just love. And I kind of hate it being online because I want to be in her class and I want to see everybody. And what she does during certain movements is she will pin different videos, which means at one point, like I'm doing, you know, Warrior 2, and she's like, you know, great angle or whatever. And I'm like, I'm looking, I'm going, oh my God, that's me. And she's like, oh, and here's Brad in his home. And we're all leaning in, looking at Brad. And it's great, regardless if they can see me or hear me, because we have to mute people. We have to be considerate of bandwidth. But that is a great key to work with people. Giovanni, you've been incredibly successful working with personal training clients. And I know you do HIIT with them, but also you've been able to charge them pretty high rates, and yet you can't see them right. I mean, you're not, you know, one-to-one with them right now. You're training them online. How are you able to continue to do this?
I think the one thing that I'll start with answering that is the overlying theme to every single fitness question. The answer is 2 words. It depends. And the answer to every fitness question is usually that, right? So how long should it be? It depends. What should you do? It depends. How long should you do it for? It depends, right? So I just wanted to kind of make that point, because as I see in the comments, we're getting a lot of, oh, my warm-up is this, my warm-up is this, you know, and yeah, because it all depends on what you're doing, how many people you have, how do they know you, do you know these clients for 2 years versus a client that just walked in, you know, on day 1. You're going to treat those 2 clients much differently. So to go back to your question, I mean, I try to specifically create a program that tailors directly to the individual. We're talking if your left hip internal rotation is smaller than your right hip internal rotation, you know, things like that. And to me, the big coaching light bulb that went off was internal cueing versus external cueing, right? Especially when you can't physically touch somebody or you can't physically be in front of somebody, your cueing has to be better than it does when you're in front of somebody, because you could take someone's hand and say, no, move your hand that way, but you can't do that online. So what I've found to be really successful for me, and what I've really dove into, is that internal cueing versus external cueing. Now, internal cueing is using our bodies, external cueing is using things away from our bodies. So it's, you know, no, reach to that side of the room further, try to grab that painting, right? Let me see the Nike logo of your shirt. Those are good external cues that you want to use because you're so far away and you're virtually working with them.
Now, Mindy, you haven't been training clients per se. You train instructors and mentor instructors, but you're also going to be starting a training on the beach in California. Mindy, Mindy lives in an RV. She's amazing. She and her husband live in an RV, and you tell them.
So those of you that don't know me, I have been teaching teachers for about 37 years. And about 3 years ago, Bruce and I got fed up with airplanes and going from one conference to a training to a conference. So we moved into this RV, and we have a nonprofit organization called One Day to Wellness. We wrapped it with our logo, and we tootle all over the world in this RV. Well, when COVID-19 happened, we had every weekend completely booked, and we were in California, luckily, and my brother, we now live in my brother's yard in Aptos, California, and all of the conventions have been canceled the online, of course. Thank you, Sara Kooperman, for having the online conference. But mostly, so I've taken a lot of trainings online. I'm actually doing a body weight boot camp CEC course on the 20th of May, but I live by the beach right now. So I've enlisted my son to create my new logo. It's called Body Weight Beach Boot Camp, and it's going to be a physical, I don't like to say social distancing, it's going to be physical distancing, and each participant is going to purchase their own equipment. So small equipment, because you don't want to have people share permeable equipment like tubing or bender balls or that sort of thing. So you can actually make money that way as well, selling like little kits, right? That then everyone joins you. And I'm going to do it all for nonprofit. Everything I do now is for nonprofit, for our One Day to Wellness organization. So I'm going to do it a few days a week on different beaches. And then I'm teaching also instructors how to take their trainings outside. Very important now, because we don't know what's going to happen, and groups are getting smaller that are in the gym, so that small group training environment can take place outside.
And I think that's great. I'm a lawyer by education, so I get a little bit nervous about, I got to check your insurance policy.
Of course.
If you've got insurance policy or homeowners, a lot of times they will actually insure you for having things outside. And if your insurance company at the gym doesn't specifically exclude it, it's probably included. And if it's not included and you're the gym owner, you can actually talk to your insurance company and get it as an added insured. I'm going to ask my staff to type that into the inbox. Added, ADDED, insured, like insure, but with a D on the end. And that will help protect you, which is important. And one thing, I think I mentioned this at one of the previous webinars, I went down to the beach at Wilmette. I'm in Illinois. So I'm actually kind of like Mindy in that I'm kind of excited not having to travel. And my kids are home, and I kind of hate them sometimes, but usually I love them, and it's really, they eat more than anybody I've ever seen in my life. But it's been great. I went down to the beach, and in each parking space was another person exercising, and the teacher had opened up the car doors on her car, and the music was playing out of the car. And it was awesome. And they were all social distanced, and they were all, separated by the parking spaces. So I think that's great. And I think being on the beach is great. And it actually has, when some of the gyms have been opening up, because I've been reading all these things about all of Tennessee and Oklahoma and Wyoming and Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, they've all begun opening the gyms. They're requiring social distancing, and they're saying 12 feet apart, but it's really the 6 feet. It's the normal distance we typically have, like at every Mania. We have 35 square feet per person, and we do 36 square feet per person now. So we're 6 feet away from everybody, which is interesting. What other ways can we work outside and do the social distancing? Dane, are you doing any programming outside?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's as complicated as somebody may think at the end of the day. Obviously, it's making sure that, again, have yourself covered as far as waiver and liabilities and insurance type of deal. You're just putting yourself at risk if somebody in your backyard for some reason, like, you know, trips on a twig, and then you have a whole bunch of issues and litigation you have to go through. So please make sure that you're taking care of yourself first and covering those bases. But when you do something outside, honestly, again, everybody's been cooped up, and there's your opportunity. At the end of the day, is when you're thinking about everybody's been cooped up for the last couple months, is that we're going to see a big shift, especially with the summer coming up. Like, the sun is out longer, and people want to be outside, and you have to capitalize onto that. And just like you talked about somebody in the parking lot avenue, is that if you can make sure that everybody that you do take outside feels safe, number one, because it's outdoors. It's not like they're confined to a room, so you can able to have that social distance between them. So you've already checked that box off. Number two, again, you put it in a framework of whatever your small group training is going to be. That might be, I'm not a big fan on kind of lower body or upper body, especially when you don't like really have, like, you know, if you're just basing a session just off that. I'm more so about the intensity and the focus of that session specifically. So you're giving them a goal of what we're going to achieve at the end of the day. Because even though it might be generalized from a small group training standpoint, you can still have a goal, a focus, a purpose at the end of every session. And then, like you said, you know, if you have to, open up the car doors, let the music out. I would say go on Amazon, go to bestbuy.com, invest in a Bluetooth speaker, just do it. Your session will be that much better for it when you're talking about, because nobody, honestly, in any environment wants to work out in silence. So invest the money, buy the Bluetooth speaker. It's yours. You'll use it for backyard barbecues with your family and everything else. But also, it's a great way to just make sure the vibe is still fresh and exciting when you're doing your HIIT training outside.
And I really like it. We got asked in the chat boxes, can you get arrested for doing the workouts outside? And actually, this is funny. There was a lady doing some workouts at the beach one day, and I picked up my camera because I wanted to take a video and post it, because I thought, oh my God, this is so inspiring. I think people on SCW would love to see this. She ran over to me and wanted to take my phone and told me to take it off there. And I was like, for one thing, get away from me, you COVID-laden whatever you were, right? Freaking me out. I said, I'll delete it. She was all scared she'd get arrested. What's going to happen to you? Now, I'm not a cop or anything, but they will give you a warning, and they'll tell you can't do this, because in public areas, they're still trying to limit people to 10 people or less, a lot of people, but they're opening up parks now. Just if they give you the warning, just smile, walk away. Oh, I'm so sorry. We were all social distance. I didn't know, and go away and don't do it again. But they're not going to arrest you. They don't want to put you in jail anyway. I don't know if you know this, but they're furloughing a lot of the inmates just to get the social distancing in the prisons. So they're not going to throw you in prison. But I do like the idea of the speaker, Dane, that you recommended. And we did do a webinar. It was last week, and we put down all those wireless headset speaker options in the notes from a previous webinar. So I encourage you guys at home, go back and look at those. But what particular system are you using? Or is it kind of an elaborate one?
For audio type of deals?
Yes.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. I use more so like I feel like I can exclaim very well. It's probably not good on my vocal cords. That I try to make sure that they're not like 25 feet apart in that aspect. But honestly, I just use a JBL Bluetooth speaker. I have Spotify rocking and rolling. And then, you know, honestly, as they're going through the workout, just so I'm not wasting time, it's a lot of like monkey see, monkey do, you know, so it's kind of, they're following along with me. We're there to get work in. It also keeps like the session kind of going. So I'm not having these like massive breaks in between doing a movement, then take a break, gotta show them everything. So if there's one other takeaway for anybody watching this webinar right now, is just keep the vibe going. Like once like you hit start, like keep going. Not saying don't give them time for water breaks or anything, but you have to keep the session flowing and consistent. So number one, you're not hurting cats, because Susie is talking with Amy about what's going on in the neighborhood, and this person over here is checking their phone. It's how you keep the group, together and kind of moving forward in that aspect. But yeah, I'm not using anything super fancy for audio. If you're looking at that, you can be really minimalistic and have a great output in your sessions as well.
Very nice. And Giovanni, you had shared about how you get, I had asked you, how do you get people to join your sessions? Because we all want more clients, so how are we going to get them? Like Mindy, I think you're posting your stuff online, that you're going to be starting this class at the end of May, and you're going to post it online, and you're going to ask people to share it, and it's going to be a big social media thing. But Giovanni, you get a lot of personal recommendations, you said. And how do you encourage those?
Yeah, so, and then before I answer that, the other thing I wanted to say is, let's keep it really simple. Let's just follow the freaking rules right now, okay? Like, if you feel like you're gonna get arrested, then you may not want to do that right now. Right? And if your government says that you need to wear a mask when you have to work out with somebody, you do it. Like, or you're gonna be like this, and then like the session's uncomfortable. Oh, was that a car? Wait, hold on. Just turn around for like. It's gonna be really awkward. It's gonna be. I don't recommend it. And now, Sarah, your question was, now that
now that you freaked me out, and I think I'm doing bad things. I was asking how you encourage your clients.
I tend to get a lot of referrals.
Yes.
And one of the reasons I do that is because I try to hold myself to a very high standard, as we all do. And I'm always on time. It's like the cliches. Like, I'm always on time. I'm always early. I'm always prepared. I always have a program. They always know what they're going to do. It's not rocket science. And when you have a high level of customer service, and that's one of the things I pride myself on, having an extremely high level of customer service, people with brains in their head will realize that. And they'll say, listen, there's this trainer, you should reach out to him. He's never been late for me. He gives me great workouts. If I say my knee hurts, then he helps me work around it. Like, you want to be so good that you have your clients working for you, and they're actually giving you new leads. And that's how I try to look at it.
That's great. And Mindy, you're nodding. Talk to me.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, let me go back, because Giovanni, I'm going to kiss you. And Dane, you guys are so much fun to be on a webinar with. Of course, these two, Sarah. So going back, though, to Dane's point about the music, this is HIIT, right? They need, and Giovanni, you struck on this too, they trust us that we're going to be timing correctly. But we are teachers, not timers. So we always have to have a timing apparatus with us, either that they can see or we can see. So if we're doing a Tabata, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, 8 rounds, we can't at 22 seconds say, oh, I forgot, haha, keep going, because it's HIIT. HIIT is, I'm going to go as hard as I possibly can for the time that you're telling me I need to go for, and then I trust you to keep the timing correct, so then I will stop and I can rest. So that's a huge part of this, is that our students need to know when we are doing HIIT training that they can trust us sidewards, backwards, forwards. So wherever we are, inside, outside, or online, we need to have a timer near us, as well as the motivational music, of course, but we need to be really authentic with letting them know where they are in that HIIT. So I strayed a little, but not really.
No, it was great. And Mindy, you also talked about equipment. And you were talking about creating little packages, and I think that really creates a nice ancillary revenue for boutique studios, but it's also a revenue driver possibly for some instructors. And there's a lot of equipment companies out there that you can purchase things for, from, or that you can just recommend for your clients to purchase. But we were chatting a little bit about how you developed the gliding discs. And
I did. Thank
yes,
you.
did. And
Yes. So, we created not only singles, but also packages so that an instructor or a personal trainer could easily purchase a package and then resell that to their clients. So say you're going to be in my boot camp, you need gliding discs, you need a bender ball, you need figure eight tubing. That's what you need. I have a kit that you can purchase. Now it's going to cost you maybe $20. But you can resell that to your clients and students for $30, $40, $50. But you also can include it in the price of the boot camp, right? So say you're doing an 8-week HIIT training boot camp. This is what we do for Tabata boot camp. You're doing an 8-week, then they purchase the equipment through the funds that they're paying you for the boot camp. So it is included in the boot camp cost. Then subsequently, of course, then they don't need to purchase that, and then you're going to repackage your fees a different way. But it's a great way to get them to bring their own equipment. And that's going to be happening in gyms too. I think gyms are going to have people purchase their own equipment, and especially mats. I don't think yoga mats are going to be shared anymore in clubs.
No more. And part of it is because of not only the COVID virus thing, but everything I'm reading. I keep pointing over here because I've got all my notes from state after state after state, and it's the individual equipment that everybody's going to be requiring to do. Do they get that from you, Mindy, on One Day to Wellness? Is it on that site?
You can go to Savier Fitness, or you can absolutely email me, and I can help you out there as well.
Okay, great. I put it in the chat box as well. And Giovanni, we were talking about, you'll take people outside, and what are the pieces of equipment you use, and do you give the equipment to your clients, or do you bring it each time you go?
Yeah, so I'll usually stick with whatever I can bring in a bag, and then maybe whatever I can hold in a hand. So obviously, the TRX is such a great tool because it's made to wrap around trees and put on gymnastics, bars and things like that. So I often find myself using a TRX outside. You got to love a miniband, because a miniband you could put in your pocket. It doesn't take up any space, and you can get people's burning, legs on fire. And even I do a lot of arm stuff with a miniband as well. And then I'll take one other piece of equipment, usually that's tubing or a kettlebell. And, I'll make it work with usually those three pieces of equipment.
Oh, that's great. And do you sell it to your clients, or are you giving it to your clients, or just like, maybe Clorox wiping them, putting it up, having them work out, Clorox wipe afterwards?
Well, at this point, and as things were going on in February, and moving on, looking back too, honestly, like, shouldn't we have all been doing this a lot more? And I say I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it myself, but I'm going to take this as a learning experience. So yes, before and after, everything is wiped down. And I want to make sure, to go back to that customer service, like, I want to make sure that they see me wipe it down, just so they have an even added level of comfort before and after. Because maybe they're going to go get a drink of water and then come back, and I'm like, yeah, I wiped it down. But if they see you and they see you working hard, and they, I think there's a lot of power in that. So I will definitely do that. And some of my clients will buy the stuff, and some of them will say, no, I'll just use your stuff. So once again, it depends.
It depends.
Sarah, can I add one thing to that too?
Sure, yes, please.
So also, it is what we can give our students and clients when they're not with us as well. So if someone had a pair of gliding discs. So say on their birthday, they knew I was going to give them a gift. I would give them a pair of gliding discs or a bender ball, or I would sell it to them. Then when they're not with me, I give them 2 or 3 exercises that they can do at home. So the more you provide for your students when they're not with you, and the more you give them as a bonus, the more they're going to come back to you, the more valuable you are.
And Dane, what equipment is your favorite, or what do you like to do with your clients?
You know, honestly, I think we're the, you know, to go to Gio's point, you know, the TRX strap is kind of, you know, go-to. But at the end of the day, like, we're our own best machine at the end of the day. But I can get creative, especially in a pandemic kind of world, is that, you know, obviously there's nothing that beats for me 2 old good-fashioned dumbbells. But if somebody doesn't have that, I'm like, all right, you know what? Let's find one of the heavier things in your house and let's use that, because actually that can actually provide some instability when you're getting really kind of fun with your programming. I've done sessions or group sessions where it's like, bring like a big tub of laundry detergent. Let's have some fun with that. You keep it engaging, you know, in that avenue. So I like dumbbells. I like the human body. But at the end of the day, if somebody doesn't have access to those, you can really still get an effective workout with something that might be kind of misshapen or kind of awkwardly kind of weight distribution, to be able to kind of get them where you need to. And that goes down to making sure, again, it goes back to your programming and just keeping it simple. And a couple different things I saw just in the chat, you know, when Mindy started talking about extra ancillary revenue aspects, I always say if somebody's looking for a quick win right now, if you're looking at about how can I check some boxes off, you know, there was a question about price. So we'll use the Gio answer of just like, it depends. It depends on, you know, if you feel like your small group training is worth $100 a person, then charge $100 a person, like rock and roll. But, you know, for me personally, I charge $30 a person. You know, I just kind of do the math and kind of what I need to do to break even. So set your price point. But the next quick win would just be go to calendly.com. Spend the $9 investment. I think it's $12 on a pro version. You can set up your calendar on Google, on your Google Calendar there specifically. And if I wanted Mindy and Gio to sign up for, you know, my boot camp or my small group session on Saturday, they would see it. They would enter their name because it's a group session. And then the pro feature of Calendly allows you to attach it to your PayPal business account, keyword PayPal business account, not Venmo. The IRS does not like that, you know, especially making a lot of money specifically. But, you know, you attaches it to your PayPal business account so that Mindy and Gio have to fund their session before they get there, you know. So I would say avoid doing the whole, I would say, you know, cash on delivery kind of aspect there. You know, we are in an aspect of the fitness industry where it's been for the dawn of time, there, you know, they pay for the service before the service is rendered. But that does go back to, again, figuring out just how you're going to give them more as far as an experience, and having those surprise and delight moments, like Mindy said. And then Gio talking about be so good that you can't be ignored. And that's the small, tiny things as far as service, as far as just, you know, again, being so good that nobody can ignore you and they become your best marketing.
And people are asking, it's called Calendly. We put the website in there. My staff put it in. I also typed it in as well. It keeps your calendar. If you want to accept PayPal, PayPal, just Google, how do I start PayPal? And you can get the same way you guys all got on used to Zoom. You watch a little video, teaches you how to set up your own PayPal account. And Venmo is interesting because it goes directly into accounts, and that's why it's a little bit, it might be less easy to track. The IRS doesn't care if you just declare your money wherever you're getting it. They're happy that you're declaring it. You also said, since we're getting it about, we're 1 minute over, I do want to bring up, Dane, that you brought up an interesting weight, something in your home that you could use that you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it could be laundry detergent. It could be, you know, a stack of books. It could be your wine bottles, uncorked, unopened. Don't drink your wine bottle when you're doing your HIIT training workout. If I'm thinking about, if Mindy told me like, hey, grab wine bottles and, you know, let's do a workout with some gliders, I'd be fearful. I'd be like, this is not going to end well. This is going to be a great workout, but this is not going to go well. And even again, I'm talking to my peers, like I think if I'm looking at it and kind of knowing Gio's story, Gio told me bring 2 wine bottles. I'm like, this is not going to be for drinking. Like this is not going to end good for me.
All right, so I'm going to ask you all, just give us a closing. I'm going to start with you, Mindy. You had a book you wanted to share with us.
Okay. I want to say just one thing about HIIT training, because this was supposed to be about HIIT training today. Utilize all different forms of HIIT timing. So not only 20-10 with Tabata, but 30-20-10, 60-75, little training, and all different types. So you're not just getting good at one, but you're getting good at all of the intensity timing options. Second, because of COVID, I actually finished my book because I wasn't on the road. It's called The Plant-Powered Penis. Yes, you heard that right. It is a great read. You can get it on my website with actually a carrot t-shirt, or you can get it on Amazon. So, and all the proceeds go to One Day to Wellness. Shameless plug, shameless plug.
Very good. We love the shameless plugs. And Giovanni, what would be a closing remark from you, please?
Couple last things. I would say, talking about HIIT training specifically, it wouldn't be a bad idea, and I know this is a decent investment, is a heart rate monitor, some type of, so you can know if you're really doing HIIT training or you're really getting that heart rate response that you want. And then the other thing is, which we didn't touch on, it's not really a HIIT, but it is nutrition, right? If you're gonna do a very high intensity workout, make sure you have enough gas in the tank. And this may branch off into whole carbs versus fat versus keto versus everything else. But make sure that if you're gonna get after it, that you're not going after it on an empty tank. And however you handle that, you handle that. I do not have a penis book to plug. But maybe
why not?
You know, I'll think about it.
Oh.
But you could find me on social media, just with my name, and you know, I'm a big proponent of Viper Pro, and I teach a lot of their workshops as well. So hopefully you'll see me, and as well as seeing me at SCW.
Well, I'm just honored. All of you are going to be at Live Stream Mania. I thank you all for joining us. Dane, I'm going to let the wine comment be your closing. So
they'll see me at Live Stream Mania.
yes, we will. And what sessions are you doing at the conference?
So fun fact, we're talking about HIIT training, so I'm just going to leave it at that. We just added to the Friday session. I do a small group HIIT training presentation called Let's Get Fit. FIT standing for Functional High Intensity Interval Training, where we just do a quick template and breakdown so you can actually plug and play as far as just HIIT training kind of formats that you can go to right away, understanding, like Mindy said, the timing and tempo of everything to make it varied and inclusive to anybody that can, you know, that you want to start training from a HIIT method standpoint, so you can have action now and quick wins now. So that will happen the Friday of Live Stream Mania. Let's Get Fit. And they can follow me at Dane Robinson Fit on Instagram.
All right. Fantastic. I want to thank you all. I really want to thank Chris and Carly from the SCW staff for helping us. You guys are amazing, part of our design management team. Thank you guys. And I want to thank all of you for joining us. We had over 300 join us today and over 500 register. So thank you, Dane. Thank you, Mindy. Thank you, Giovanni. And I look forward to seeing you all at Live Stream Mania. You guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you.